he also removed the poll taxes in the rural areas. Yeah. I mean, if you lived in the rural setting in Burkina, you were not paying lampo, what you call lampo. And also try to win Burkina from its over-dependence on Betty Woods institutions like the IMF. I mean, IMF has always been, I don't see it as a partner in development for Africans. I see the IMF as a partner in destruction. And they are there just to make sure that African countries, and for that matter, third world countries, never develop to become first world countries. And he succeeded to a large extent. He was loved by his people. But just like is very common with previous leaders in Burkina, Burkina has a very peculiar history. You come through a coup d'etat and you are taken out through a coup d'etat. That is how their system has been. Remember, Blaise Compaoré was the one that led the coup that brought Sankara himself. But he was the one that assassinated him in 1987. You get my point? So you would ask yourself, why would someone who will fight for you to become the president turn around and assassinate you when it was not something more of non-performance, but because he also felt he could be the president of Burkina Faso. So the death of Sankara and the celebration of it must always remind those that celebrate that he stood for certain principles. I am not too much interested in celebration for celebration's sake. We like these ideas too much. Oh, we are commemorating the memories. What are you commemorating the memories of that personality with? Corruption still remains a major headache on our continent. Corruption. And I'm very happy that you will be coming to the Chief Justice and battle one's issue. That is why we are not developing. How many of the people that met there are not corrupt? How many of them? Yet you went there and stood by Sankara and you were crying, grieving more than the bereaved, eh? You should have woken up from his sleep and slapped all of them so that we move on. You are not living the memories of him. Accountability. People lead us in Africa and they don't want to be accountable to us. They don't want. They feel that when you call for accountability, you have spoken an unspoken or unwritten code. These were the things that Sankara stood for. But I always say, like we have been debating here, and just like some of us have been advising the current president of Burkina, he should let his own country's history guide him. I still believe that at a point he has to return the country back to a civilized way of leading. If Burkina wants to chart a new path of democracy where it is more like a monarch, they should go by that way. Unless until they get to that point, I don't think that using the barrel of the gun to ascend to the presidency will give you that peace. I always pity military leaders. They work as high-risk entities. You understand? If President Mahama is traveling, and if Traore is traveling to the same destination, I am telling you, the security budget for Traore will be times 10 than that of John Mahama. Even within Burkina, because he's a threat. But because John Mahama was elected through the tomb, the risk profile is always less. And you can achieve whatever you want to achieve using the tomb. If you get the right leader who is willing to take the country to the next level, I can tell you that whatever Burkina is doing, that person can do here. Just that we don't want to develop. Let Burkina return to democracy and let the memories of those that are celebrating Sankara, let them also live by that memories, so that Africa will not find its citizens going to do menial works and jobs in someone's country only for peanuts.
Thank you very much, Sulubo. Let me come to Dr. Marazuk. What are your thoughts on Ghana sending a high-level delegation to, you know, in solidarity, celebrate with the Burkinabés, their very respected leader, Sankara?
Good morning to the cherished viewers, and thanks for the opportunity. What Ghana government has done is an illustration of many good things. One, unity in diversity. 2, solidarity within the West African sub-region, and 3, the Pan-Africanism in reality. So it is good, but let me say that the struggle to gain is as important as the burden to maintain. So it's not what we witness today. The most important thing is our ability to sustain the gain so far by the military junta of Burkina Faso. And let me commend President Mahama in this context for striking a reasonable balance. And I'm referring to the balance between his commitment to constitutional order and his contribution to the revitalization of the Pan-African anti-imperialist agenda initiated or spearheaded by a military junta. Here we are dealing with a very difficult situation.
Yeah.
I will side with Solo. In fact, he has taken some of my words, but I will emphasize them. Whatever the gentleman is doing is good for us. But the only negative aspect of it is that it is also more likely to constitute an invitation to the culture of military intervention in African politics.
Captain Traore, you mean?
Sure. Because he's doing very well under the banner of military junta. So that alone, so that has put some of us in a very difficult situation. In as much as we oppose military junta, we cannot, in the interest of sincerity, oppose what he is doing in the best interest of his people.
Okay.
But my question is it sustainable? And that is why I began by saying that the struggle to gain is as important as the burden to maintain. If at the end of the day he's not able to maintain what has been gained, then of course it is going to be useless. So yes, some people may not be happy about the way President Mahama, a constitutionally elected president, giving all kinds of support to a military junta. But I call it a balancing act, which is very good for us. Very good for us, not just because, even beyond governance, Burkina Faso and Ghana share a lot of things in common.
Right.
I am a proud member of the Gbewa dynasty. And the Gbewa family in Ghana, constituting the Gombes, Mamprusis, Moshis, and other ethnic groups, have an extension to Moshis, who are also members of the same Gbewa family in Burkina Faso. But for the useless demarcation of imperialist borders, the Moshis and the Gombes and other ethnic groups would have been found in the same place. So we even have ethnic linkage with some of them. And if it is good for President Mahama to maintain that solidarity, so that at the end of the day, Ghana and Burkina Faso will continue to exhibit a very high-level productive sense of fraternity in service to African nations, in service to humanity. But let me end by appealing to Traore, if he means well, to do everything possible to return the country to constitutional normalcy. After all, he can do the beautiful anti-imperialist things, the beautiful anti-imperialist agenda, the beautiful Pan-Africanist agenda in democratic governance. He can do that. If he is able to do it in military governance, he can also do it in democratic governance. I think that is what we need. However, my suggestion does not mean the so-called imposed democratic governance on us. He is free. He should be able to carve out, he should be able to initiate a kind of constitutional governance that will be relevant to the culture, the tradition, and the realities of Burkina Faso. And I think if he does that, he's going to be a global icon in terms of governance, in terms of development, in terms of Pan-African movement. Let the Burkinabe stand against all external enemies, but let them remember that their survival is to return to constitutional order. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Marzouk. If you just joined, this is the Newspaper Review segment on the Good Morning Africa show here on Pan-African Television. You can be a part of the conversation by sending your submissions on 0559919802, And if you're watching us on Facebook, you can also send your messages and we're going to read it. This message is coming through, says, it's from Coleman Sapila 2, says, Domeko Abinya constituency, $15 cement, $15 cement was 90 Ghana, $120, cement is 140. Ghana, Sembeba Debi. Regards to AGYEKUM Safia Mohammed, incoming NPP National Women's Organizer. Okay, thank you very much, Coleman. So, but just join in the conversation. Someone is addressing a message to Soloba. I'm not sure. The construction of the sentence is not clear, so if you could put some clarity to that, we will appreciate and read it once. Local language. What if I can't read that local language?
You have someone.
Okay, all right. All right, let's move on to our conversation.
But he has introduced another interesting topic.
Yeah.
About linguistic imperialism. I mean, we are all here and we think that our dignity should be measured by our fluency in English.
No.
That is very unfortunate.
That's it.
And that is a huge question mark in our educational system. And let me tell you, any educational system that does not promote critical thinking, innovation, and pride, cultural pride, is a tribute to unemployment. And that is why we cannot do it. We can imagine people speak bad English in our parliament and they become laughing stocks.
No.
And when they speak good tree, good Dabani, good Ga, good event, no one celebrates them. That is unfortunate. I think Traore and other Pan-Africanist leaders should try as much as possible to give meaning or to think about changing this negative mentality of cultural and linguistic imperialism on us. We are all victims of linguistic imperialism, and I think it is important, especially for educational policy makers and the governments to reduce. To see how best local languages or mother tongue could be improved to become media of instructions in our universities.
I agree, and even not only about the value of the person being measured by how impeccable they speak the English language, but also their level of intelligence. And I feel that's too extreme to feel someone is.
Measure the level of intelligence with how well someone is fluent in, say, the English language. Then it means all of us are subservient to the English. Because that is their language. That is stupidity. We live in a country where, and this is something that I've always had a problem with. Our kids, they are encouraged to get one in English. Go and check WAEC, the number of students that are able to get, say, A or 1 in it's so bad.
The local language.
So I think that we should take on this fight, and perhaps Pan-African TV should. What is the language policy in our educational system? Primary 1 to 3 is supposed to be taught in the local language, the mother tongue. So let's say, for example, if you're in Kumasi, Chi should be the mother language that is taught P1 to 3. In Accra, it's Ga, and so on and so forth. And then at teacher training colleges, must be encouraged to train teachers in these local languages, because if you don't have the teachers who can teach the local languages, then that system is dead. And so let's not just, as it were, bash, and even take it to the imperialists. What are we doing about? I think that as a policy, the policy still is there. We must implement it.
I'm talking about the imperialists.
No, I'm not taking a dig at you. But I'm saying that it is good what you said, which is true. But beyond that, our destiny should be in our hands.
That's exactly what I'm saying. You see, in this case, we are not condemning the imperialists. We are condemning ourselves. Look, white supremacy is only activated by black inferiority.
Yes.
Black inferiority is the oxygen of white supremacy. If they bring the supremacy and you stand up to them, it can never work. But when you are also consumed by inferiority, it becomes a fertile ground for white supremacy.
Without that, supremacy is void.
So let's see the Black Star experience take up this as well.
We're looking at it, and even with the tourism ministry, you know.
Look, research is conclusive. Linguistic research is conclusive on the symbiosis between mother tongue and critical thinking.
Yes.
Between mother tongue and logical thinking, between mother tongue and competency.
I think we need to create a segment for Dr. Marzouk to school us on the linguistic intricacies.
And then is linguistic, also history.
History. Yes,
these two critical subjects, we are living it. How many of our young ones, they know about American history, they know about the British history, but they don't know about Ghanaian.
I feel like Ghanaian history has been adulterated, and even the sources of these historical...
Yes. But there are certain basic fundamental ones that as a Ghanaian you must know.
Exactly.
As a Ghana you must know. As a Dagomba, as a Kan, you must know.
I think it goes a bit beyond knowing. It's about respecting each other. And I'll use a guy example because we're in the capital, we're here right now. Do you know that there's a ban on drumming and noise making right now?
Yes.
Did you hear your Muslim colleagues do the 5 a.m. thing today?
No.
You didn't hear?
Yeah.
So they're respecting the ban.
Yeah,
so they're using the microphones. But some are. That's disrespect. Now, that some people would say, oh, Sakasano. That is disrespect.
Absolutely.
I mean, we have a lot of FM stations in Accra. How many of them spend a segment of their time to speak the local language or to teach people the local language? These little things are things we must do. And if we respect each other, if I try to speak a little Dagbani, or I say Kwetem to him today and he says Kugara, that shows that I'm respecting him. I say Eteseng and he says, oh, yeah. That's how it should be. I mean, we should...
Or Tete.
It's a fun-looking conversation, but because of time, we'll have to move to our next topic, which has to do with the CJ's removal, which has come with a lot of controversies, even as the process is due process, as many most school of thoughts suggest. This one is quite interesting, and once I saw the banner headline of today's edition of the Daily Graphic newspaper, I just said to myself, it's just one word that dropped in my head. Who can anyone guess that word?
What's that?
That it's a phrase actually.
Where did you see that?
This the banner headline. The subject for discussion.
Sorry.
This is a Justice League.
Yes.
This is Justice League. How come all the, not all of them, but some of the legal practitioners we revere so much in this country be involved in this, should I say, constitutional brouhaha?
That's it. I love the construction.
Constitutional brouhaha, like Thaddeus Sorry, Oliver Bakavoma or Chachuchi Kata happens to be connected to the NDC.
Sorry, correction.
It's been reported here. You want to clear that, but the newspapers have indicated another. Okay, let me start from here. It says details have emerged about the identity of the lawyers representing the petitioners, calling for the removal of the Chief Justice, the veteran Chachuchi Kata, who is affiliated with the National Democratic Congress.
Exactly. So it's only Chachuchi Kata.
And he said, and it says, Thaddeus Sorry is a legal practitioner that has been exempted. Another private lawyer who some claims has ties.
Some claims, that's the MPP claimed. You remember during the vetting.
Some did not.
I'm giving you evidence.
Categorize whether it was the MPP or the Movement for Change or Dr. Marzouk.
I'm giving you evidence that's verifiable. During the vetting, the appointments committee settings, the MPP claimed that Vomawo was NDC. All right? He was invited to Parliament. He denied that flatly. In fact, he said he was affiliated to the CPP. He's never voted for the NDC. He's not an NDC member. And they had to eat humble pie. So for the records, Vomawo is not NDC. So these
so he doesn't have ties with the NDC.
Neither the petitioners,
he's not sympathetic towards the NDC.
I'm making this categorical statement because the petitioners nor the lawyers for the petitioners are NDC apart from Chikata. And I think that we should not allow the Daily Guide, which is an MPP paper owned by the former chairman of the MPP, to try and pigeonhole this thing into an NDC MPP, football. Right. Trying to exonerate the Chief Justice for crimes that she's alleged to have committed. We should look at the thing on the face of the law. The law is the law.
And that's what
the
we are
Ghana Bar
looking
Association
at.
Cannot metamorphose into an MPP appendage to free her. Neither can the MPP as a party try to do this. And their media houses will not be allowed to bastardize this process.
I agree. But is it not very interesting that these three solid men are involved in this matter?
They're not involved. I think that everybody, including even criminals, are entitled to, legal representation. And fortunately, these are very qualified lawyers, perhaps overqualified, as you may want to term it. I mean, we know that Chikata has been equated to the legal...
Anyway, good morning to Counsel Thaddeus. Sorry, I met him at the mini call, was it last 2 weeks? And he's such a nice man in person. I told him, say, you look intimidating on TV, and he was laughing. But he's such a nice man. Shout out to Counsel Thaddeus, sorry. Please.
Well, for interrupting me.
That was just
for interrupting me, praise me.
Yeah, praise be to you.
I said, am I intimidating?
No, you're
I'm a nice person in person. Anyway, so, it is important to state this for the record, that so far, nobody has been able to point to one single infraction on the part of the president relative to the Article 146 petition that is currently under review. That is that for the removal of the Chief Justice, Justice Gertrude Tokeno. Indeed, using even the Akufo-Addo standards, which in my view are very low and base. In fact, Akufo-Addo has no standards when it comes to 146 petitions. I have personally had 2 such petitions before him, both of which he has ignored, even though his surrogates in the Occupy Ghana and all those lawyers, Isankuma, what's his name, Kofi Benzel, the one he put in the law school, or is it, what's his name?
The director of...
yes. One of his lawyers.
No.
One of those guys, bald, funny guy.
No.
Yeah, anyway. I mean, they claimed that, together with Samson Ladi, that the president in Article 146 petition cases is only a conveyor belt. In fact, Ace Ankuma went further to say that he's actually a postal address. And I recall that they even advised that when you are making such a petition, you copy the chairman of the Council of State, because invariably it must get to him. And so if the president refuses to act on it, at least the Council of State will be aware, and then they will advise him to act on. I did that. Yet Akufo-Addo for 2 years refused to act on the Article 146 petition against Sophia Akufu for taking our lands for 7,000 Ghana cedis in cantonments, and yet sit on Jacob Echebilante's land issue in Ridge. I mean, etc., etc. And there was a tall list of people who had looted. Most of them have been caught by the oral thing. Fine. Their day in court will come. But I'm saying that it's not surprising at all that when the thing went to the Council of State, that one person opted not to support that, prima facie case that was established. I mean, your guess is as good as mine who it would be that they decided not to join the 30 persons who are forming our Council of State. Okay, so if 1 out of 30 does not support this, that means that it's a clear case. And so you cannot fault the president for moving ahead on the advice of the Council of State that a prima facie case has been established against Justice Gertrude Tokeno. All right? And I'll bring us to a certain other situation. I remember during Georgina Wood's tenure, there was an Article 146 petition, which I had a hand in. Again, it was about her having taken over some land, the International Students Hostel, which is not too far from here. The airport, International Students Hostel, that's where the Foreign Affairs headquarters currently is. She and ACHIAA, who is making a lot of noise today, Katie Hammond and others, including lawyers. In fact, there were judges also. I remember there was Adinyra, and then the one at the International Criminal Court, what's the name? The name will come. There were several of them who took over that land. That land is a World Heritage Site. In fact, the International Student Hostel during Nkrumah's era was used to train a lot of African leaders to go and liberate their countries. We are talking about today Sankara and others for the good works they've done. Nkrumah was churning out a whole factory to ensure that we had African leaders capable of rescuing Africa from the shackles of colonialism. I mean, that was what it represented. And some people decided that that land or that thing should be owned by them. And these are lawyers and judges who have been acting on Article 25 and 6 and denying original landowners, pre-acquisition owners of their lands. Aberrations like this. These people should have no space. In fact, they should not go near any courts or be party to our legal system or jurisprudence. And yet, these people are overseeing our courts. So when you have an Article 146 petition against a chief, it's a very serious matter. Because who presides over the courts of Ghana? All the courts of Ghana. Who empanels judges even at the highest court? It is that same person. In fact, I want to thank Professor Mills, even though he didn't take Judge Nawu through the process. At least got her to confirm that indeed she had been given that, and she returned. In fact, she extinguished her interest in that land because she got a phone call that she had been offered the land. She didn't have money, so she exchanged it with her cheap AGYEKUM land for prime airport land. That thing was taken from all of them, including ACHIAA and those who are making noise today, and given back to Foreign Affairs because it was Foreign Affairs land. We didn't make any fight about it because we gave it for Foreign Affairs purposes. The land was given to government of Ghana for Foreign Affairs purposes. So if it's going to be used to build a Foreign Affairs complex to replace that which Akufo-Addo bent during his tenure as Foreign Minister, got bent under his watch as Foreign Minister. You remember that passport fraud, the one that the drug barons and those people were, then the place got bent under his watch. So that was a replacement. That is fair. She was let off the hook. I wish that matter had gone further. But fine, at least Ghana has secured the land back for Ghana for the Foreign Affairs. In this particular instance, what is at stake? In fact, note also that the president has been circumspect all this while. The president has not divulged anything to do with the content of any of the petitions. Right. That should be on record, because when it comes to Article 146 petitions against chief justices, there is a much higher standard. In the case of, let's say, the Electoral Commissioner and the Shrag Boss, which have been successful in the past, that's Charlotte Osei and Vivian Lamte, okay? Those ones, it is not kept secret. The information can be out there, and it was out there, and the charges were made known to Ghanaians, and then subsequently they were removed. Those people thought the Charlotte Osei one was wrong. And of course, we have another Article 146 petition pending against the EC boss. Those who think that there's nothing against her. It's been pending since 2021, 21st January.
I think maybe we should settle that of the CJ.
I'm just putting these things side by side.
Controversy, yeah.
No, I'm just putting this side by side.
We're discussing lands.
No,
he was actually linking it to...
I'm saying the crimes that the people committed.
And the petitions that have been leveled against.
You see, there must be a good reason for getting somebody out. Now, because you mentioned the land issue, the land manche had petitioned the president on our lands that were being stolen, and then threatened that we're going to go to court. Whose court were we going to go to? Who was going to preside over that? Which chief justice was going to panel? And so it was necessary to have the chief justice removed because she herself was complicit. That is the basis. And so if somebody says that does not form prima facie, or it is not a grave enough conduct of misbehavior, then what else can be? So the standard and the bar had been met and over-exceeded. In her instance, we are hearing that, what's the title? They said what? Suspended chief justice cited in fresh corruption scandal.
Yeah.
What are these corruption scandals? I'm sure you would enlighten us, but I've heard former Speaker of Parliament, Michael Quay, Professor Reverend Michael Quay, say that he thinks that this whole thing should be stopped unless it is made public, even though the Constitution says that the contents of the petitions should not be made public. She thinks that the trial should be made public.
It's actually the Constitution that dictates that it should be an in-camera process.
Exactly, but here is a Speaker of Parliament, a member of the NDP.
But she herself also made that demand.
That she wants the
president and every other thing that pertains to this subject matter is known to the public. So why don't they make the procedure public?
So they are saying to us that we should disregard what the Constitution expressly says.
But the committee says they are inclined to the dictates of the Constitution.
Yes, so they weren't going to listen to these people again. No. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. The person who says the law is the law is agreeing with people who are saying the most absurd thing. In fact, even this should be...
The law has to be the law. So
no, I mean...
We have to uphold the rule of law as high as we can.
No, that's treasonable.
The law is for the poor.
No, you see, it is treason to overturn the Constitution, whether aspects of it or in full. Correct?
So she's coming from the tangent of, okay, everything that pertains to this
Who made it public?
It's made public. In as much as the Constitution says it should be behind closed doors. It is known to the public. So why don't you make every other thing concerning it public
regardless
as well?
of what the Constitution says? She is not fit to be a Chief Justice. She is not fit to be a judge if she thinks that the Constitution should be overturned because of reason A or B. When there's a constitutional review process in works, why doesn't she rather advise the constitutional review the same people that going forward because of this, that, do this? She knows better than that. I don't think she said what you are saying she said. I am disbelieving you on this one.
It's actually here.
If she said that, then that should constitute new grounds for a petition for her removal.
Let me read that. Says the Council of State, after considering 3 separate petitions filed by a private citizen, Daniel Fore, senior police officer, AGYEKUM Akologo, and a group calling itself Shining Stars. Okay, he said failed injunction on May 6th, 2025. The Supreme Court, by a 3-2 majority decision. I'm not sure if that's where it is, but somewhere here.
Let me take your word on it since the time is running.
President reversing warrant, refused application which sought to order the president to revoke suspension of the Chief Justice. The court did not give a full reason, but okay. Before that, it's captured somewhere here.
Never mind, I'll take your word for it. I've known you in the past. Yes, okay.
The report said Justice Stokonu's request was, however, turned down by the committee, which indicated that since Article 146 of the 1992 Constitution demands that the committee sitting be held in camera, they are inclined to abide by the dictates of the Constitution. Preceding that, the paragraph preceding that says she is said to have justified her request by noting that all the processes leading to the formation of the committee and the probe had already gone public in spite of the constitutional demand.
But you see, well, even though I take your word, I can't take it from where it's the sources. And it's saying that it is
indicating that she
guide.
But they are indicating that she made the request.
No, daily guide.
Everything that concerns should be made public.
Newspaper, daily guide. Charlie, forget this one. If I hear from the woman herself, I will personally write a petition for her removal. If I hear from herself.
Maybe we can find sources.
So let's find out whether she did say that. And if she did say that, I will also file a petition for her removal because she cannot be asking for the Constitution to be overturned. If Speaker Michael Quay is asking for the Constitution to be overturned, he is no longer in office, but she is currently suspended but still actively in office. And so it will be grounds for her removal. So she should not say that. She should recant that if she did say that. Now, you've heard the MPP, the Bar Association, and their surrogates say all manner of things trying to overturn the Constitution when it comes to this particular Chief Justice. Every single aspect of this they want to overturn and say that, oh, she should be allowed to go. Come on. Look, lawyers and judges, when found culpable of the law, should be the last to be excused. You know why? People say ignorance of the law is no excuse when it comes to the ordinary man. Who knows the law? Isn't the person who has gone through legal training? You are a legal student, right? You, even as a student, if you infringe, you must be held higher than him because he's not a legal student. So if your lecturer, who is a lawyer, infringes, he should know better. Now, the practitioners, including especially those who pass judgments, those who have incarcerated people for life, for death, and so on, and the people who empanel those who incarcerate them, who should be let off the hook? So the Chief Justice, the highest bar, when it comes to Article 146, should hit her. Why are they lowering the bar for her? The Ghana Bar Association, why are you lowering the bar? In fact, they've lowered the bar itself. Not just a bar, but the bar, the Ghana Bar Association has been lowered.
Which of the bars?
The beer bar association. Maybe they were drunk. But the point is that the MPP French of the Ghana Bar Association, who went and met in that mid-term whatever conference, that was rained off. I understand there was lightning and thunder. Most people left. It was just a few people, about 20 or so people out of about 5,000, membership. They met. And then they decided to say what they said. I think that association must be looked critically at. But look, bottom line is that the process must go on. Yes, there's great public interest in the matter. However, I think that we should respect the Constitution. It is different from when it comes to case, the courts itself. Most of their sittings are not publicized, right? But there have been instances where it's been waived. I recall a few where the Chief Justice had to wait. But those are not constitutional, that court sittings should be in camera. But why do the courts think that some of their things even should be in camera? So if they can respect the fact that even court sittings, and if you dare go to even the High Court and attempt to video the sitting live without that, you are in contempt of the court. You can be thrown, summarily in jail. So why do people like this think the way they think and say the things they say? Why?
So are you saying that her knowledge of the law should intensify the degree of her sanctions?
Of course. And her self being the one who does not only practice, but is at the top of it. Now, to the allegations that have been made against her, the corruption charges. If you recall, in the case of the Shrag boss, it wasn't about corruption per se, but I think they said, well, technically corruption, because misappropriation of state funds amounts to corruption. And she did not misappropriate the money. She is said to have misapplied the money, or something to that extent, as in buying curtains and furnishings for her office building, not for her personal use. Okay. In this instance, there are allegations of some travel things that were not done according to due process because they had a policy. Policies are, for me, not strict laws. Policies are loose laws, but they are still binding in the corporate setup where you operate. And so for me, the judicial secretary who resigned should be brought back and dealt with.
But she's a judge now.
No, I'm coming to that. That's one forces petitions. The paper don't finish, pen finish, ink finish, ink no finish. Let them go and be the judge. So she will have to come back and be dealt with on this matter as whether she okayed for the variation from having your security person travel with you or have your husband and daughter travel with you, and then the per diem angle and so on. I understand there are some people, Operation Recover All Loot, who are now willing to pay back their loot and so on. In fact, people are rushing. There's a mad rush to pay the loot. So if they are minded to also refund those monies, that would be good. The next thing is that 4th June is coming. 4th June is coming. Mass arrest will happen. 4th June. It will be chaotic.
I'm not taking your word seriously because
there's a deadline. Operation Recover All Loot. People are flown. You haven't heard that people are flying out of town. I heard about 6 or 7 went last week to Brussels. Many are, have more tickets. Look, I'll tell you. Okay. Whatever it is, and in this particular instance, that so-called, single source contract that the Chief Justice is alleged to have engineered for a company known as what? Design 37.
Yes.
Oh, so that's your company name. The company name you were responding to in the morning.
No,
I mean in the beginning of the show.
Do you know the funny thing? Most of the corruption scandals, the companies that they choose, there was one called Talent Sons of the
Yes.
That's just so funny names.
Frank, can you wrap up for us?
When you want to decide to steal her,
can you please wrap up for us?
Anyway,
so that I
so if indeed it is true, I haven't seen those documents, and I have not heard her attest to those. But if indeed it is true, and someone says that there's no prima facie case, I think the person is mad. That's what I'm saying.
So the school of thought is not only about the fact that there's no prima facie case, but also
if the evidence exists.
The whole process is undue. It's unfounded.
Who said that?
I mean, school of thoughts.
No, when you say school of thoughts, you're mentioning it.
I have mentioned it.
Look, you see, the Constitution says that you must be of sound mind to occupy some positions. ACHIAA should never have been MP.
And you have the facts.
If you are sound mind,
that he's not of sound mind.
No. You are of sound mind. Tell me.
I am of sound mind.
Yeah, okay, let's leave.
You have his medical record.
No, I'm saying that we must take this sound mind, constitutional, this and ethic very seriously.
It's getting more.
It is a requirement, though.
It's getting more. It's getting more exciting in here. Thought-provoking, very insightful as well. Our Facebook viewers are trickling in the messages. Says that good morning, OHEMAA from Kucho Menshia Zongo. He says, please, I don't think sharing whatever with Burkina Faso should be something strange, because we share a lot in common, especially fighting for independence for Ghana. Patrick M. Ingetia says, good morning, OHEMAA. All right, more coming in. Let me read a few messages and bring Solo and Dr. Marzouk in on this subject matter. So says, good morning, Pan-African TV. The NPP and its affiliates are pushing for public hearing, knowing very well it is unconstitutional, in order to take the president to court for violating the constitution. All right, thank you for your message. And please, the number is not for calls. I see people coming through with the calls, and we appreciate that you are engaging with us. However, would like to hear from you via text message or WhatsApp. This message says, hi OHEMAA, I remember when Solo was in the NPP and how I used to get agitated and pissed just because he knows the truth, but yet spewing propaganda just because of the party's interest. I'm glad and always.
What I've been doing
Solo, he has more to say. Let me just end it. I'm glad and always stay on channels wherever I see him nowadays. He's now been honest and straightforward, and I'm really enjoying this version of him.
It's moved on. It's a movement.
I disagree with him entirely. I have always behaved so, but because I was coming to this studio under the banner of the MPP, they were prejudiced. Before I even speak, sometimes I could come to Alaje, I hadn't even spoken. People will start testing. But what is he saying? I said, come on.
Maybe you can think your back was off.
All right, Edward Dubaja says it appears we allow MPP to set the agenda everywhere. In the trial of the Chief Justice, if MPP is complaining about NDC lawyers being prosecutors, which lawyers are defending the Chief Justice? The law is the law. Kweku Lapas. Thank you for your messages, but keep them coming. Ibrahim Abdul Karim Jabbar, he says CJ is corrupt, and you can be a part of the message, the conversation as well, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. We'll read your messages as the conversations go on. But Solo, let me bring you on this subject matter. Concerning Chikata Vomawo, representing the petitioners of the removal of the CJ.
So it is not out of place, first of all, to have Chikata Vomawo and Tadio representing the petitioners. They are lawyers, and just like any other Ghanaians, I can go and engage their services. We have engaged the services of Tadio before when I was in the MPP for Madam Vicky Bright. We had an issue with Ahmedata, then the MP for Kakwe South, and Tadio was the our legal representative, our counsel. So it is very normal. You see, one thing people are failing to acknowledge with this whole thing is that they are treating the petitioners as people who do not know their left from right. That people that are just being called into or have been pushed to petition to remove a Chief Justice. It is important that the Ghanaian watching this morning is made aware of those that are petitioned, as to whether they are people who can just be moved around or about by any whims and caprices of any political authority. One of the petitioners, there are three petitioners in this matter. We have Daniel Ofori, we have DSP Ayamga, and we have the Shining Star people.
He is a lawyer and representing himself.
Yes, and I don't think He's malleable like that. If you know a young guy, he's a very tough customer that will never petition on a flimsy excuse. Mr. Daniel Ofori, he's one of the wealthiest people we have in this country. People don't know. He has shares in almost all the big banks that are in this country. He has shares in EcoBank, shares in Car Bank, shares in Societe Generale, shares in SIC. But when he's working here, if you don't tell you that this is Mr. Daniel Ofori, you will never appreciate. So who can better have an interest in this country, and for that matter the cause of justice, than someone who invests hugely or heftily in our economy? Who in the NDC or within the presidency can just go and move Mr. Daniel Ofori about and tell him that Mr. Ofori, we want you to go and do our bidding? Who? In fact, his political lineage is to the MPP. So if there was anybody that wanted to play politics with the removal of the CJ, I don't think Daniel Ofori would ever allow himself to be used by this administration to get rid of the Chief Justice. If you read what he has said, the petition he sent, he raises 21 allegations of misbehavior. 21! 4 allegations of incompetence. So you cannot just throw it away like that. And mind you, his allegations are centered on a case that is currently in court involving himself as Daniel Ofori versus EcoBank. And if you take your time and go and read how the case started somewhere in 2008 and still is pending in court, it will tell you that there are certain matters that has to be addressed. And I see Daniel Ofori's petition as a petition that can liberate the business community in this country, that can liberate investors in this country, depending on how it goes. So we must always not throw away concerns of people. After all, he is operating within the confines of the law. The law allows any citizens. And I also disagree with anybody that thinks that it must be difficult to remove a Chief Justice. It must be the easiest job. It must be easy to remove the President of the land. It must be so easy to remove the Speaker of Parliament. I myself, I want the Speaker of Parliament to be removed. You remember the committee that he set on the MPs that went and destroyed chairs and microphones? What has happened to it?
Martin decided not to. In fact, he and his MPP caucus decided to boycott and make it impossible. They said they were going to make Parliament ungovernable, disruptive, and so on.
Yeah,
so
they did not.
And the Chief Justice, the Speaker that is supposed to act sat aloof. So if I petition,
complicity or irresponsibility.
Absolutely. So if I say I'm going to petition for his removal, why must it be difficult for the Speaker to be removed?
But then
you have 2 options here.
But that's fine. That's
complicity or irresponsibility.
But then why ending words?
It must not be. Is it difficult to put in place a Chief Justice?
No.
The President nominates in consultation with the Council of State. The nominee goes to Parliament. He or she is vetted. She becomes the Chief Justice. Is it complicated? Why must it be difficult to remove her?
Once there's a prima facie.
And then the prima facie has been established. Nobody is interrogating the threshold for which that prima facie case was established. But that is also not the problem of the President and the Council of State, because the Constitution does not mandate them to make it public to us. And just like a PDA was saying, why would anybody that believes in the rule of law now call for the proceedings to be held in the full glare of the public when the Constitution says it has to be held in camera? And the Chief Justice, the embattled Chief Justice, had known this all this while. What has been her position on this matter? So at best, what anybody calling for openness could do is to write a proposal to the Constitutional Review Committee, so that the amendments or the revisions that they are envisaging will include making the processes of removing any chief justice open to the general public. But for now, you cannot just in the middle of the ocean come and tell us that we must disregard the constitution. When the embattled chief justice has already told us the law is the law. No matter how furious you are, the law is the law. We subject ourselves to judges for them to do anything. You are being trained as a lawyer. I go to court a lot. And when you go there, sometimes the humiliation, the judge that will be speaking to you as though he or she was created in a different world. Sometimes they speak garbage. But we take it as the gospel truth because they are mandated under the law to do what they are doing. We have been disagreeing with them all this while, but you can't kill them. You can't do anything because they are operating.
But you have the right under the Constitution and Article 2 to, if you have any challenge to, you have
redress. A lot of rights.
The Supreme Court.
We have a lot of rights under the Constitution.
Or even administrative injustice.
That is why this one I was telling you that the laws are meant for the poor. It is not for the rich. Because if
but there are institutions that have been put in place to protect you.
The Constitution and Article 36 tells you that the state shall take all necessary action to ensure that national economy is managed in such a manner as to maximize the rate of economic development to secure the maximum welfare, freedom and happiness of every person in Ghana. Are you happy this morning? What it means is that if your pocket is dry, you must be able to.
That's under the directive of state principles of state.
Have you been able to actualize this?
But I'm saying that if you have a problem, with the judicial system or how some administrative processes did not go your way, you can read Article 33.
I have been petitioning them. A lot of judges, they don't deserve to go nearer. They not just below, they must not even go closer to becoming judges.
And you have the right to.
But the rights are not respected by people in it. That's why you need cleansing of the judiciary.
Reset.
I'm telling you.
Not the cleansing of the revolution.
Using the legal means itself to plead it. The threshold for a judge, the bar, must be so high.
Yeah.
They are kron. You know kron, Merade. Holy Chief Justice. If what we are told by the Daily Post is anything to go by, though I have cited some documents to that effect, then the woman has a lot of issues to deal with. I had advised in the early days, knowing what I know on the street, that she would have been better served by quietly negotiating and exiting office.
You mean resign?
Resigning. You understand? Because you see, government has the machinery to be able to dig you in and out. The judiciary, the people that you are there with, you have a lot of enemies with this. So everybody that was happy that Chief Justice Tokoni was at position. So some of your omissions and commissions will definitely be known by them. And they will be willing to leak. And let us not also forget that the decision on the petition to remove this Chief Justice or the embattled Chief Justice started under President Akufo-Addo. Professor Kwaku-Azan's petition was solid enough, but the former president played with it. If you go and read the reason why a prima facie case was not established, according to President Akufo-Addo, you will laugh. He spent more time castigating Professor Kwaku-Azan for making the petition available when Professor Kwaku-Azan said he did not make it available to the general public. And that the president was looking for laws within our statutes that can punish Professor Kwaku-Azan for even allowing his petition to be made public. He wasn't concerned about the gravity of the issues that Professor Kwaku-Azan was raising, but rather how the thing managed to get into the public domain. But if I bring you a petition, if I bring a petition to the presidency and it gets leaked, can you blame Professor Kwaku-Azan alone for leaking it? Can't it be a situation where it came from you, or it could come from anywhere? The president was majoring in the manos.
Or the council of state.
Yes. For us,
Sam Okujeto, who was the head.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So clearly, there is something in motion, and I'm so happy. And at the end of the day, it is fairness that some of us are looking out that the woman has to be treated in all fairness. But if I were her, she still has an opportunity to resign and go home and enjoy her retirement. But if she will still follow these lawyers, these MPP guys who have tasted power and knows how sweet it is, and think that with these 2x4 they can come back to power, when the movement for change is now metamorphosing into a political party, then I'm afraid they are not going to get anywhere.
Right. Thank you very much, Solo. We are still discussing the CJ removal, and that Chikata Voma or sorry represent petitioners for this case. Dr. Marzuka is coming in. After his submission, I'm going to read the messages that are coming through on Facebook, on WhatsApp, and so you can be sending your messages as well while the submissions are flowing. But Dr. Marzuka, before anything you plan to say, what do you think the outcome, given the involvement of these three formidable legal practitioners, what do you think the outcome of this whole matter is going to be like?
Well, the outcome will be very interesting, and I believe that in the supreme interest of the nation, the outcome should rather constitute a strong consolidation of the rule of law and democracy. First of all, let me say that with all due respect, it's very unfortunate that almost everything in this country is viewed from the lenses of NDC MPP duopoly. Right. And that is exactly why some people try to see something wrong with the choice of the counsel and lawyers by the petitioners. You are a law student. The law is clear. Every Ghanaian has every right to choose every lawyer. Even if you believe that that lawyer does not share a kind of philosophy or ideology with you, but can do the job for you, it is your right to choose that lawyer. So Ghanaians should understand this. This is a simple reality about legal practice. And it is the constitutional right of the petitioners to choose lawyers they think can do their work. Therefore, I do not see why people try as much as possible to discredit the choice of the lawyers. So, that one is clear. Two, let's also caution that in matters such as this, and I'm learning from you, those of you in the legal fraternity, we are told that in every meaningful adjudication, the perception of bias cannot be decoupled from the reality of bias.
Right.
Am I right?
Yeah, the likelihood is actually the test.
Exactly. So, my appeal to Ghanaians, my appeal to the lawyers, my appeal to those handling the case is that they must conduct themselves in a manner that will not at all bring to the fore any iota of bias against anybody, either against the petitioners or against the person petitioned against, or I'm referring to the Chief Justice.
Or their lawyers.
Their lawyers.
As has been done by the
Let's use this as another opportunity for us to reaffirm our commitment to proper rule of law and constitutional democracy. I strongly believe that at the end of the day, Ghana will benefit if it is conducted very well. The Chief Justice is alleged to have committed things that are not correct. So let that be allegation. Until those allegations are proven by a legitimately constituted commission or body, let's give her every opportunity to defend herself. And if she wants to listen to Solo, which I also suggest, I think it is good for her. If she wants to listen to Solo and listen to me,
don't listen to us.
Then she should resign.
And the NDP someone has sent me something. The reason why people want this thing to be made public, as in like shown on TV.
That.
To be shown on TV.
Yes.
They want this thing to engage the attention of Ghanaians, not only for them to play political football, but to divert attention from the ECG container scandal and the various other scandals, including the Operation Recover All This, because Ghanaians will be glued to a single issue and then they can walk off. Thank you very much, but it won't happen.
All right, so thank you. But if it will not happen, you should also start prosecuting those people.
Yes.
Yeah, you are sure.
The other tribunals are coming.
Yes.
When are they coming? When are they coming?
Let them come.
When are they coming?
It's a movement. I thought you were going to tell me the public have come. As for our coming progressive, we are not interested in that. We want a situation where
government now.
Now.
Tell government now.
Yes. Now, not June 4th.
Yes.
So you have earmarked June 4th for that action.
Oh, June 4th is a good day.
Oh, that's malicious. That's very, very, very malicious.
Let's also not use constitutional means to glorify an unconstitutional conduct.
Yes.
By some June 4.
But June 4, we know what we celebrate on June 4.
Sorry, we're talking about Shari.
After praising him for hard work, for competency, I appeal to him to return the nation to constitutional order.
But stands for probity and accountability.
Oh, but what probity and accountability did it?
No, don't worry. I said independence of Ghana. What does it about us?
No,
but it stands for freedom and justice.
So
every event stands for something.
That's what I'm saying. You see, I started by saying that.
Yes. Who accounted to who?
To who?
She's going to account to us.
Anyway, so please, I mean, the Chief Justice should be given every opportunity to defend herself, and those who are trying to politicize everything should desist from that. Again, we are talking of I'm surprised. I don't want to believe that the Chief Justice actually made a suggestion that is contrary to the constitutional provision. I don't want to believe that. But if she did, then we could pardon her maybe out of frustration. Of course, because
frustration.
Yes, the chief administrator. Of course.
You have to be very empathetic.
Look, even I.
So she wasn't thinking straight.
Yes, even I.
Not thinking straight.
Remember.
That's not what we are doing. So you are misconstruing the whole thing. He's trying to say out of frustration. I mean, out of frustration, you can say and do things.
Somebody got some shakes to do some bad thing. And he said he was not thinking straight.
No,
it was not sound.
Well, we can't pardon her. I agree with Dr. Maris. We can't pardon her. If she actually made this.
It's just simple mischief.
Sound mind.
I will appeal on the right one.
Mischief. I'm even using an if clause, a conditional clause. I'm saying if in the first place I don't even believe that she said that. Yes, I don't believe that. But if she did, then we could pardon her because that could be out of frustration. I cannot understand how I cannot understand how.
Imagine being in her shoes right now, and so maybe that we give her the benefit of the doubt of she being a certain. She didn't say that. Okay.
Are you now her defense lawyer?
She did say.
Are you a defense lawyer?
It's actually a very.
Are you the defense lawyer?
And I saw how Justice Bafuboni acted. I said, this position is sweet. As we speak, someone is there. So if you want to do your prayer, let's put emotions aside.
I cannot understand how the #1 protector of constitutional sanity will call for something that is unconstitutional. And that is why I am suggesting that if she did, then we should pardon her.
No,
that should
be. Article 146 petition must come.
Yes. Oh, of course, it has come. It has already come. So
a new one must come.
Okay, no problem. So that will be out of.
That request was overturned by the committee. So I think it's something.
So it's even dead.
No, but she should come and confirm or deny that she even put in that, because I don't trust the daily guy. The daily guy.
But please, why are you disturbing me this morning? You want us to start?
Let's allow Dr. to wrap it up for us.
He wants us to start.
Nah,
all right. So at the end of the day, I am appealing for justice to be seen, and let's not be so much disturbed about what is happening. I strongly believe that no matter how it is, depending on how we handle it, at the end of the day, it will be another feature of the consolidation of constitutional democracy and the rule of law in this country. Thank you.
Justice should be actually done,
Sure.
not just seen as done.
Sure.
All right. Thank you very much to our panelists.
Is the house flooded?
No. The house can be flooded.
But I'm just seeing images of people's homes and some places.
Yeah, we're going to touch on that, but I want to hear what our viewers have to say also.
So,
See other part?
It's a house flooded.
so what happens to the claim by NADMO?
No, Sisleyadapa was giving money.
And the so-called task force.
No, Sisleyadapa was giving money
when people's houses are flooded.
gutters and drains.
You see why I was very cautious in quoting them. I was very cautious.
Okay.
But
Let's hear what our viewers have to say on this one. Says, good morning, all. The law is the law, so let the law take its course. And it is also alleged that the daughters of the suspended Chief Justice are found of serious scandals. It is popping up, and if it is true, then Madam Tokonu should go. From Amos in Asin Fusu. All right, thank you, Amos. I do not know.
4 or 3.
Okay. This one says.
4 + 3 is 7. So 3 is 7. Design.
All of them are for you.
So you are decoding the company name and how it is linked to. Oh, geez.
It's numbers.
No, it's
the company name is numbers.
Company,
and the amount involved is what?
456,000.
You know the thing of handle.
But you know, money is a serious matter.
It's a business. But I want to know, does the company belong to her?
No, from documents that I've seen, belongs to the daughters.
Like this, your number.
If the documents are anything to go by.
Okay, let's hear what our viewers have to say. Aben is saying, dear OHEMAA, kindly extend my limitless thanks to Dr. Marazuk. He did me good. All right, thank you. Dr. Marazuk.
What's the name of the lady?
Aben. It's a man. Prince. Okay, this one says Al-Hassan, this is coming from Al-Hassan from Nyohini South. I wonder why the removal of the Chief Justice worries MPP more than the Chief Justice herself. Okay, thank you very much. I'm not sure of that, but okay. Good morning, OHEMAA and your panelists. Please, we are tired of the numerous press conferences the micro-minority are engaging themselves in. The MPs who are being pushed to do those press conferences are being watched by their constituents. We are waiting for them. Don't be disgracing us. Charles from Japan. Okay, thank you very much, Charles. Good morning, OHEMAA. It's been a while, yeah, with you on set, yes, I know, right? The CJ is really causing more harm to herself than good. The NPP can walk from Accra to Hamile in protests against her removal, but she must go, and when found guilty, remember the law is the law. Soglo Ibrahim, thank you very much for your message. This one says, Chikata, to educate the justices once again, there's no more unanimous FM scores. Good morning from Bolga East, Maradona, Dr. Dominic Ayine. To Bolga East Maradona, Dr. Bolga, Dr. Dominic, Dr. Dominic Ayine East Maradona.
Bolga announcement.
That's what they say. Ericus from Zarungu. Okay, thank you very much. Let me do 2 more from WhatsApp and then we go to Facebook. Good morning, OHEMAA. Question: who are the lawyers representing the CJ? Question mark. I really don't understand this NPP people on the petition. Are they trying to say the CJ is bigger than our constitution? Let's allow the law to work. The law is the law. Don Kelly, DC Primary 2A branch organizer. Right. Thank you very much, Don. Let me see what our Facebook engagers are saying. This one says, interesting. Says Dr. Marazuk, tell Solo democracy is not religious. I don't know what that means, but Musa Abatwa, I commend the government for its relentless effort to stabilize the cedi, especially in these challenging economic times. The appreciation of the cedi is a clear reflection of strategic interventions like the Gold for Reserves initiative. Kudos to the economic management team, the Ministry of Finance, and the Gold Board for their coordinated work in ensuring macroeconomic stability and restoring confidence in the currency. Thank you very much, Musa Abatwa. This one says from Jewel Sibri Fusaini, good morning, OHEMAA, and good morning to your panelists. Please ask Dr. Derek Prince, those who are alleged to have absconded, how are they going to be brought back to face justice and their loots recovered for the states? Fusaini is asking from Tamale. Pius is also saying good morning to your OHEMAA and your panelists. I'm watching you live from Upper East Chianapaga. I'm really enjoying your program. Keep up the good work for Ghana. Thank you. Sumaila Hamadu says solo Nigerian, Malian, Burkina-Base. We need our soldiers. Our soldiers, that's what you mean?
Nigerians, I think.
Nigerian, right. We need our soldiers. I'm sure that's what he's trying to communicate, right?
He said that they need military leaders to lead them.
Yeah.
Right,
Isaiah Miki, those drinking bar, what are they saying? If yesterday is wrong, today is also wrong. What about the EC? Why are they also doing the construction? Please do well to couch your messages clearly so that we can read them articulately. Okay, for me, the fact that Chief Justice cannot explain who a Ghanaian is, I have a problem. Okay, this was coming from Livingston Doe. Edward Dugbaja also says, if the prosecuting lawyers for the Chief Justice are NDC, NPP should also go for Frank Davis, Godfrey Dame, ACHIAA, Esankoma, Sam Okujato, Joe Gate, Michael Kwe, etc. to defend the Chief Justice. Okay, Ibrahim also says the Ghana judiciary system is corrupt. From 2017 to 2024, the CJ has to go. The law is the law. Let me take this final one. I'm going to read the rest before the show closes. Says that the conduction of the law is to be fair and kick Madam CJ out of the office. The law is the law. All right, thank you very much for your contributions, and I'm going to read all of the messages, I promise you that, before the show closes, but we have a few minutes to go, and we'll have to touch on our last but one story and probably chip in the last story as well. Oh, but let me take this one from Stephen Penn. Stephen Penn is always glued to his TV and making super great contributions to the show. Says, good morning, OHEMAA. The MPP and its allies are mourning more than the CJ with their press conferences and demonstrations, and even now threatening not to return to Parliament if the CJ suspension is not revoked. Ghanaians are getting worried about the stance of the detractors who are supposed to have legal brains. We need a break. Ghana is seriously being reset, and so be it. Stephen Peng. Well, thank you so much, Stephen. We do appreciate you every now and then for your contribution. But let's head straight to our last topic, last but one, and also chip in the last one for today. And no cause for alarm over power. 450,000 barrels light crude oil in, according to the energy minister. And also we can touch a little on the parts of Accra flooded after hours of rainfall yesterday. Yesterday's rainfall was quite serious. I was stuck where I was until it subsided, and I go home.
Where were you?
I was in church.
Oh, okay.
I was in church.
And you praise. I like that. I was in church.
Yeah. And you know why I said I used that expression. I knew he was going to ask me, where were you? You know, ask me studios as is. I knew he was going to ask me that.
So it was premeditated.
Yeah.
So you were not in church.
You fell in my. You fell for my church. You fell for it.
So you were not in
church.
Because you said you thought I was going to say that, so you prepared an answer.
No, I knew. Actually, I knew. Yes, that's a real answer.
Yeah, you knew I would ask you. That's why you went to church.
So and the rains were quite heavy, but also concerning the assurance. My bad. Concerning the assurance from the energy minister, he's saying that the barrels of oil lights are in, and so Ghanaians shouldn't be afraid of doom. So, but I've been experiencing doom. So
yes,
indiscriminate. Indiscriminate. And I'm thinking there's a perennial issue that needs to be sorted out, but we are not being told, or I don't know if it's issue of accountability or whatever it is. But what do you make of this one?
Well, let me touch quickly on the water so I can then substantively deal with the utilities one. I have an appeal here from the eco-conscious citizens boss, Madam Akwasewa, who is appealing for us to look at the ACHIAA Lagoon and other water bodies that are being filled. In fact, there's a lot of filling going on. And so where the water should normally pass into the sea is blocked. We know that when the rain falls in Accra, there are challenges. That's just Accra rains. But when it falls from the mountains, the volume of water that comes down the mountain through, Legon area and all that, Trasacco, etc., that is supposed to also be channeled through the same water, ways, becomes a much bigger challenge. And I want to commend the president also for setting up the task force headed by Stan Dogbe, the deputy chief of staff. He's a no-nonsense guy. He's already threatened some demolitions and so on. And I think that we must support the government to have the right thing done so that this challenge will not go. You were talking about perennial.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's a building, a waterway, if we are silting the drains and so on and so forth, that will recur. That's the first challenge. The second one is that when government puts money, or we borrow money, or the World Bank or other donors support us with money, okay, for this project, and I think Garrett is one key one. 2021, Cecilia Dapa, the money that was given, the dredge masters, okay, you know the connection, and the 40 million that went missing, and the monies that were found under the bed, and so on. We must revisit it now. And now we must revisit it now, because look, we're told at the time that about 3 billion plus 3.2 billion to be specific was going to be lost to flooding each year. That's around the time the Garrett thing, the 2021, Garrett report thing came out by the World Bank, and monies were advanced. We were told also that in 4 years, or in a little time, we're going to have a quadrupling of the situation if it was not addressed. Did we fix it? No, we haven't fixed it. And I think that's why I'm saying that we must revisit this thing without just looking at things within partisan lenses, because when the floods come, it is because the thing has not been fixed. Now, moving away from the floods issue to the ECG issue, I think that we must look at the wider ECG problems of resources and how they've been misapplied, misappropriated, and therefore not available for the actual use. People have heard about the cash water flow.
Misappropriated under whose watch?
Oh, under several regimes. And when I say several regimes, I think, let me start from the PDS. PDS was under whose regime? Well, some people, when they want to say PDA, they go and say PDS, and I get very offended by that.
They want the regime, eh?
And Baumia was the one who actually changed the conditions precedent from the bank guarantee to the insurance guarantee, which was a lowering of the bar, that allowed the PDS scandal to happen. Then we had the Baba, so lowering of the bar, and then the Baba of the president was put on the team that misappropriated the money, in fact, stole the money, stole the money.
Yeah.
And up to now, our prepaid money is still with them, about 15 million. Now, if they had invested the money in a bank, okay, fine, maybe a haircut. But if no haircut, then means we are in serious trouble. Yeah. They have much more money that they should be given to us through the ECG for them to be able to pay various things. Now, there are the issues of the the compact that was also truncated because of the scandal. I mean, who then, as energy minister, indicated that there was some stealing, there was some fraud. Nobody was arrested. Nobody's been arrested. And I think that the oral team should be looking at that, or the Attorney General should be looking at that very closely. The next one is in fact, the last one out and on is the containers.
Yeah.
Picture this scenario. You buy a mobile phone from the US.
Yeah.
Every time you bring your mobile phone to work, he steals it. He melts it and then sends the raw materials to the US. Then you go and buy again, and he steals it. That's what happened with the containers. We pump a lot of money into getting ECG, and not just ECG, but the energy sector fixed. We have different segments of the energy sector. So we must generate the electricity, we must, transport it, as it distributed and so on, for the final consumer to get it. In the course of distribution, you need to have the poles, you need to have the wires, and so on. In fact, before I even come to that, lately there's some new developments of people not only stealing the metal covers on drains. Now they are breaking drains and to remove iron rods. So we must look at the scrap dealers. Scrap dealers, anybody who's caught with some of these things must be arrested, and they must prove where they got those things from.
Right.
Those who sell also must be put. So now back to the ECG container. And why I came to that was we saw certain places where they were smelting these cables and turning them into rods to export to China for them to be turned into the wires again for Ghana ECG to go and buy again using our money. So we pay money, somebody steals it, sends the things there, and we go and buy the same thing over and over. Perennial issue. Who were in charge? Kelly Gajekpo, partner of Ken Ofuriatta in the Enterprise Group and his data bank, was the chair. He resigned and cited personal reasons. In fact, he was in charge also at the PDS stage. He resigns. Who was the board chairman of ECG when for 2 years he was aware that these things was happening? I said that in Parliament. Who? Do you know who? Afenyo Markin. He said he was aware of the problem. For 2 years, he was aware that ECG containers were being stolen all the time. ECG, like, board chairman. What is the role of a board chairman? And Afenyo did this to us. Together with Just Pamesa as Deputy Minister of Energy. Together with Napo as Energy Minister, who then was promoted to become running mate. These people must answer the questions. Now, finally, the ECG situation is very simple. We have fuels that we use to run our generators. We have had some challenges with fuel. Fortunately, we've had some brought in from Nigeria. But we are looking at gas rather than the normal fuels as in the the other fuels. So that it would cost us less, because there's an issue of cost also to the final user. And PULC and others were asking for hikes in both water and electricity charges, so that we can, resolve some of these issues. But at the end of the day, can you afford it? If the Ghanaian cannot afford it, if you put it at a point where they cannot afford, then they will resort to illegal connections. And there's a lot of illegal connections. Then there's the issue of the government agencies that have been also having electricity and not paying for. Now the government is moving them off the postpaid to the prepaid. And eventually the green energy component of that ministry is going to look at solar. And there's a big plan in place to have a solar projects that where even normal houses will have solar industries, companies, and so on. And then the best part, that's the 24-hour economy. When it takes off, we'll need a lot of energy. So there are going to be subsidies during the peak hour time, that's the evenings, for businesses to try.
Let me come to Solo quickly, and then to Dr. Marozuk. I read a few messages and we are out of here. Thank you very much.
When I'm listening to PD, sometimes I tend to pardon him because he is not in government. He is still in opposition, so he's still with us doing the campaign. No problem.
I told MPP that we have two forms of opposition. Opposition in opposition and opposition in government. So the opposition in government is the worst opposition.
Do you also know that can be my choice?
Of course.
So what are you taking yourself?
So what it is that, first of all, John Jinapo must begin to be serious, because the country where it is getting to, it is no more about rhetorics. You understand? position you gave us all the lectures. I mean, it's becoming one of the reasons why people don't cherish academic qualifications. You have all the masters. When you are given the job, you are crying to us that it's level 2 this. That is why you are there. You don't need to create that panic in the system. You understand? Deal with the issues, and the Ghanaian will reward you for that. And there are several ways. Look, no, but you didn't
negotiated the cow thing.
So what he's saying, what the NDC is saying, is amply captured in our great transformation plan. If you have been given the opportunity to rule or to lead, we were going to privatize some aspect of the ECG operation, the billing and the metering. You understand? And the collection of everything. Because that is where the issues are. If you look at the energy supply chain, ECG plays a critical role. We are all selling to ECG. VRA produces, Agrico transmits, ECG is supposed to distribute to various homes. But if you distribute and you don't bring the money back, how would VRA survive? How would Agrico survive? Yeah. And we are told that 40% of production goes into waste. What waste? People are doing illegal connection. You and I are paying to support these, and these 40%, it will interest you big corporations.
But the movement voluntarily made this, presented...
That's what President Mahama is with him. So whatever he does with it,
yes, I think...
whatever he does.
Some of them are also NDC ideas.
No,
great minds think alike, don't worry.
So he has to work, because you see, the 24-hour economy he's talking about can never materialize if the energy sector issues are not resolved. So he must be up and doing and stop crying to us. But you see, Ghanaians will judge him also how well he brings the perpetrators of those that stole the containers to book. He cannot just come and make it a 9-day wonder.
Absolutely.
This scratch my back, let me scratch your back. We are tired of it.
All must work.
All must work.
Okay.
When a former board chair comes to admit that he had known of this problem, so he had known that thieving, was he benefited from it? That is why he kept quiet. These are matters that must be resolved.
You're talking about Afenyo, right?
I know what I'm talking about.
Yes, yes.
He must be called to come and answer.
Yeah.
Together with all the board, former chair, and then the managers, managing director. Dubik resigned and told us that for personal reasons. Everyone is personal reason. You understand? So that is it for the flooding. Nature would always win. If the leaders of this country will not act, nature will win its battle. Ghana has a very beautiful concept. The entire Wager area was supposed to be for agricultural purpose. Because of the Wager Dam, it was supposed to be for irrigation. We sat down for people to build in all these areas. Where were the assemblies and the government of the day? One of the good things that Gordisberg did for Ghana, particularly Accra, was that he took all the best lands and gave it to government. So if you want to build, the best areas to build in Accra are lands that belongs to the state. The rest are claimed. So you have helped Ghana a lot.
One of the stewards of the Lalam.
He has been fighting. I admire him for that. One of the most focused people that fight for his people. But no, they don't listen to him. They are listening to him. All
he should be giving us land. Has he given you, Dr. Man?
He himself has not gotten, so how is he going to give me some?
He has.
They have taken all his lands. How is he going to give me?
Listen to my answer.
At least he has.
That is why I've been fighting along with you today. I want to get a land. I have promised my children that the day you hear me winning the cases,
Yeah. Let me allow okay, Dr. Marzouk, please wrap it up for us.
My answer. Not yet.
Okay,
so
not
yet means he's to give me.
Yes.
He will still give me.
We are fighting. When you just say straight, you watch him to the side.
Yes.
Okay, so briefly, I admire Jinapo very well. But let me advise him. He should stop. I mean, he should be serious, just as you have rightly said. He should be serious. Look, he's now telling us no cause for alarm, but he has even raised the alarm. Just
Summoned by Parliament. He didn't raise that.
So he could have known what to tell Parliament. When he was summoned by Parliament, he raised the alarm there.
Parliament is a house of records. He saw the facts and the facts.
And so the facts constituted an alarm.
He raised an alarm.
He raised an alarm.
He raised the facts.
So if you raise an alarm, you have no business telling us that there's no alarm.
You have brought an alarm.
Now brought the alarm. You understand that? And you've been put there to work. We are no longer campaigning. The days of rhetorics must give way to the era of pragmatics.
The days of rhetorics must give way to the era of pragmatics. Okay. Thank you very much.
You see, but then we come to the issue of the flooding.
Yeah.
I mean, look, with all due respect, the flooding is a collective guilt. It is a collective problem, and therefore it is in need of a collective solution. If I am not aware, or if there is nothing at all, we have about 3 regulatory bodies in relation to land: Ministry of Land, Land Commission, then we have Survey Department. But look at the way we built. So the building and the permission to build are both attitudinal. Until we change our attitudes towards construction and our relationship with the environment, will continue to have flooding. Right. So in this case, it is not only the leadership, the fellowship must also be blamed.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we have just 1 minute to log out, but our viewers also keep coming in with their submission. I'm going to read a few and then we're out. This one says a few, but
the law
it keeps coming. The law. This is not the law. Promises are bound to be
the land promise is about to be
promises are about to be broken. All right, so good morning, OHEMAA. The power crisis is nothing but sabotage by enemies of state who seek to destabilize the state by looting ECG containers and vandalize transformers and street lights to create doom. So indeed, the minority vandals are bent on vandalizing state properties in Parliament, burn markets, offices, and pollute water bodies to give government a bad name. Don't take NPP for granted, because they are determined to destabilize the nation through subversive activities, just as they threw bomb to overthrow Dr. Nkrumah in the 1960s. All right, let's do one more. This one says, good morning. Government lands in the Volta region, especially in Ho, are still being developed at a fast rate. What is Oral doing about it? No sign of any action since then.
Oral
Isaac
Ho.
All right, coming from Facebook to this one says, good morning to you, OHEMAA, and your panelists. I'm watching live from Upper East Region, Chiana Paga. Okay, we have addressed that. Okay, there's no way for the good people of Ghana to pardon the CJ after all the criminality that went on in her office. The law is the law. Conflict of interest is a contract given to her. Okay, conflict of interest, a contract given to her daughter under her watch is a no-no thing. Okay, this one's coming from Bukari. Bukari says, good morning to you and your panelists. I'm watching you from Sisala East. The hard-working MP for Sisala East, Honorable Isa Mohammed, is focused on delivering on his vision, on the vision of the President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, and providing good governance for the good people of Ghana. Finally, good morning once again to you, OHEMAA, and your panelists. Our leaders have failed to recognize our challenges in our lives. Now every politician is thinking of getting a position and get money and go away for free, and nothing will happen to them. That's all, by the way. This is how life is. All right, Pius, thank you so much to our viewers for always choosing us to bring you compelling, insightful, and thought-provoking content here on the newspaper review segment on the Good Morning Africa show. But could we have done this without our panelists? Prince Derek Osei. Almost said
what? Osei. Who's that, Miss Osei?
Do you know Prince Osei? Prince Derek Osei is an actor. So like his name is like registered.
So I have to go into
yeah, maybe.
I'll go into preaching.
So Prince Derek Ajay is here this morning. Thank you so much. We are most grateful to you. After, I'll tell you after. To Solomon Owusu of the Movement for Change. Thank you so much, Solo. Always. And to Dr. Marazuk, Alhamdulillah. everything is going to be all right. Thank you so much to you always for choosing us. I'm OHEMAA AGYEKUM. Tomorrow we are back with more. Do stay.